Hello, welcome to Beyond the Feed with Media Bodies, where we're going to bring you an insider look at influencer marketing and the creator economy by focusing on loads of different areas that we think are really interesting and current. I'm Rosie. This is Georgia, one of my colleagues, and we're going to chat a little bit today about true crime. And, in its rising popularity, we've seen so many brands working with true crime creators across loads of different platforms. We really want to understand why it's a good option and why it's working for people. Tell me a bit about why we're having this conversation. Why is true crime so exciting at the moment?
I mean, we've seen a huge surge in true crime consumption in the last few years, and across all our clients and all channels from YouTube to podcasts, true crime is one of the top performing genre, especially for clients that are looking to target a female audience. I think is a really interesting topic, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Absolutely, yes. And we're going to break this down a bit further as well and try and figure out why people like watching this content, why the creators in these niches are so effective when it comes to influencer marketing, and what opportunities there are for brands to really maximize on this. So we'll start by giving a bit of a disclaimer. We're not experts in psychology. We're really just going to talk about research that we've done, studies we've seen, but also our own experiences in the industry and how we've seen these kind of creators, their audiences interact with them and brands interact with the creators in succession. So to start with, what we really want to understand is a bit more about the true crime consumer landscape. So I suppose the key question is, who is actually listening to true crime content, whether that's podcasts, YouTube, short form content? How do we start to understand who is actually consuming that?
So what we've seen working with true crime influencer is they mainly have a female skewing audience compared to the average population, especially on podcasts where the main part of the audience is a male audience. True crime podcasts have on the other side mainly female audience. So this is really interesting for brands that are targeting this type of audience. So this on the gender side, on the, level of education or income level, it's more so a mainstream audience. It's perfect for brands that, again, are targeting this type of mainstream audience, not just premium brands, but also mid-level brands.
So it's female skewing, definitely compared to the kind of averages of who is listening, consuming this content. It's for a pretty mainstream audience. It's very diverse. And actually, we want to, highlight as well that a lot of this consumption is taking place in kind of sponsored segments when we're talking about brands specifically, which is largely long form. So I'm sure there are some short form true crime creators who are posting on TikTok and Instagram and doing little snippets and insights. But really, what we're focusing on here is that long form content where creators are really diving into the details of whichever gory story they're exploring that day.
No, that's really interesting as, because of this long form type of content, what the audience tends to do is to really engage with the video, and they are commenting, discussing, they reply to their viewers' comments. So it is something that really fosters this engagement for this type of content.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that even the nature of true crime content, when you think about the storytelling aspect of it, it really fosters engagement all the way through. It's not something that people are dipping in and out of and listening to half an episode of a podcast for. They're really committing to listen to the full story, which is such a unique benefit of this kind of content when you're comparing it with other verticals as well. Why do you think there's been a surge in true crime content over the last couple of years? Why are we seeing more of it now and more creators covering these different stories than we've ever seen before?
Yeah, I feel like, there is a few reasons. So what we've seen is one side, there is more the storytelling side where people are just happy to hear somebody telling a story and, they do it while they do their chores or just, winding down after a long day at work. So there is just, this more calming and soothing side. And then there is a side of, learning, understanding, educating yourself about, people's minds or motives. Often, again, considering that the main audience is a female audience, there is a tendency to try to prevent being in certain situations, learning how to identify some red flags. I feel like the two main sides are an entertainment and like storytelling side, and then there is this other more educational and social side.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because that approach that is more about learning and discovering new information, or even, like you said, kind of understanding how these situations have played out for other people. It's almost that approach, though, where women are trying to avoid being the victim themselves in a lot of these situations. It's really interesting because when you're looking at it from what this means for influencer marketers, how can brands work with these channels? We know that the consumer is out to learn and out to be educated a lot of the time. That's one of the big draws to this kind of content. So, what are the benefits of this true crime audience profile for influencer marketers today?
First of all, as we mentioned, it's a really engaged audience. They are really invested in the story and they are ready to be engaged, to comment, to be part of the conversation. So it's definitely an audience that is invested in the content. Also, one other side of it is there is a loyalty to the creator, and often people follow their favorite, true crime creators, and they develop this sort of parasocial type of relationship with them. So they trust them. And, for a brand, collaborating with a creator that their audience is trusting, it means that they will trust their recommendation as well. So this is definitely something that we are looking for.
Yeah, and I think that what you've just said is a great point because there is that side of it about the loyalty, and I think that goes without saying for all influencer marketing. Engaged audiences feel a sense of loyalty to their favorite creators, but the uniqueness of true crime is, I suppose, this the creators are natural storytellers. So not only is the audience being, invested and hooked on the creator themselves, but also their kind of personal narrative, the way that they tell stories. And I mean, it goes without saying as well that the way that translates into how they can endorse brands and products in a really organic, interesting way for their audience is a really unique thing that this genre of content holds. Like, that's a skill that they hold that other verticals it's just not as present in.
Yeah, definitely. No, you're making a great point there. I feel like often we have brands coming to us and saying we don't just want creators to just read a script or just having this type of impersonal type of integration, but we really want them to make it personal and make it authentic. And yeah, this is something that true crime creators are so good at because they are natural storytellers.
Exactly. And one of the other things we definitely want to touch on and not skip over is from a performance perspective, why true crime is an amazing vehicle for more stability and consistency. Because a lot of, and this is very generally speaking, but obviously a lot of other verticals we see huge amounts of fluctuation with. What are the kind of performance pros from a true crime aspect that brands can rely on in that vertical?
Definitely this loyalty that we mentioned, is something that leads into the creator having a quite consistent performance. We can predict quite precisely what the actual CPMs are going to be, what the actual performance is going to be. So they are really reliable. And, when you're working with a true crime influencers, you kind of know what type of performance you're going to expect. And also these are, creators that before filming a video, they really research into the topic they're going to talk about. The videos are really well thought before. And so this gives to the audience as well a sensation of, feeling of, I know that the brand that they're endorsing is really well thought of before as well. They trust their favorite creator to, be endorsing brands that they actually believe in.
Yeah, so as a summary then for from a brand perspective, why would you be looking at true crime? So I mean it's a hugely female skewing audience, really engaged listeners, viewers on any kind of long form platform. Pretty consistent performance, tighter control and CPMs and performance forecasting that way as well. I think the final kind of aspect that it'd be good to talk about is that concern around brand safety, because a lot of, I've seen videos come up on YouTube, podcast titles come up, and I mean, it's true crime. It's about crime, murder, crazy things that have happened in the world. How can we make sure this is safe for those brands that are concerned about that aspect of it?
Yeah, this is something that, brands always raise to us and perfectly understand that concern. But of course, something that we have to consider is creators that decide to, tell these stories, don't do it in a superficial way. But again, they research and they are really aware that, the story that they're telling is a real story. They are respectful of the victims and of the victims' families. So there is a specific sensitivity that they've developed to it. And also because of this, the audience trusts the creator to, tell the story in a respectful manner. And this relationship between creator and viewer, it's really strong. Again, this is actually a benefit to the brand that is endorsing, well, that is sponsoring this type of creator.
Yeah, I suppose that the creators, especially for a lot of these true crime, a lot of this content, the information is actually readily available online that other people can find. So they're actually held very accountable for a lot of the information they put across. So, like you said, they are trusted by the audience to research it deeply, to put all that information into one place and to tell the story in a sensitive way. And yet, I imagine that absolutely translates into them having that greater sense of trust from their audience anyway, especially when it comes to sponsorships and endorsements. They're trusted to only be sponsored by products and to endorse products that they genuinely like or believe are really, good quality that their audience is also going to respond to. And in a way, that's a lot like, being a journalist and having that kind of journalistic integrity to only bring the facts that we can prove are true and that we know are true. And there's some great examples of, really big true crime channels that we've worked with on a personal level that you've worked with, Georgia. So, I mean, tell us a bit about, role and in the company. How has true crime been a part of the campaigns that you've run?
I think we've worked with several true crime creators multiple times. We have long-term relationship with some of them. There are a few, examples that, are my favorite. For example, we've done an integration on the Crime Junkie podcast, which is, one of the most well-known shows within this vertical and that I personally follow as well. So that was a really proud moment for us. And it was a great integration overall. Do you have any favorite integration that we've worked with or?
Gosh, I mean, it's been such a long time since I worked on the campaign side of things, but I know that as a company, we've worked with Danielle Kirsty, extensively anyway, across loads and loads of different clients and brands. And I know that she's had like amazing, and she's managed to drive amazing results across the board for everyone. But I think my favorite example of a way we've really gone a step further with true crime is a specific client created custom assets and products around her and also her dog, because I know that her dog, it plays a huge part of her content, and her audience are super engaged with the dog and the dog's story and how the dog is doing, as well as her obviously doing her makeup and telling the stories. That also plays a huge part of it. I believe the dog's name is Daisy, I think, if I've remember correctly, I'm not sure.
Think
But
so.
I know that that's a great example of a way that it's super creative and also kind of proves the point that the audience are really invested in the stories, but also in the creator themselves. So it's really that two-pronged approach to interest, loyalty, and trust that is really so unique within true crime. So, to the brands who are still hesitant to work with true crime creators or even test working with them, I mean, can you summarize the benefits for me? Like, top line, why should they test true crime if they've got that female skewing audience and they're interested in giving it a go?
Yeah, we have so many benefits. So you'll have a steady performance, your audience is going to be engaged and loyal. There's a strong potential for having really engaging ads, as again, true crime influencers are natural storytellers and they'll do everything to make the integration as personal and engaging as possible. They are really trusted by their audiences.
And of course, we've seen above everything else that It's by far, one of the strongest performing verticals across those long form formats, which of course, if you're as a brand, if you're present on those long form platforms like YouTube and podcasts, it's absolutely something if are well aligned with that audience that you want to try or be a part of. Well, I mean, thanks for running us through all that today, George. It's been really great to talk to you about it. Of course, if anyone wants any more information about true crime in general, other kinds of verticals and experience we've had working across, I mean, basically every industry and loads of different genres of creators, then absolutely subscribe to Beyond the Feed channel because there'll be more content like this coming your way. You can also follow Media Bodies on LinkedIn. You can check on the website for more resources and insights, or you can always reach out to either of us or any of us here on LinkedIn as well if it's something you want to have a conversation about in a different way. And thanks for listening.